Good morning and welcome, Patriot Radio News Hour. I'm Joe Jaquint, CEO of the Patriot Trading Group, and our toll-free number 800-951-0592. And if the second day of May, the first trading day of May, is any indication, the madness is not ending. We've got a down stock market again. We got gold and silver down. Matter of fact, gold's down pretty big. We had a flash crash in Europe that really led to all, well, I shouldn't say led to, but it didn't help. It really led to people in Europe selling everything in just a matter of seconds. The indexes in Europe plunged as much as 8%, calling it the Nordic flash crash, and that just got everything on the wrong side of things. But listen, here's the problem. Yep, we got liquidity issues, we've got debt issues, we've got inflation issues, and nobody has a solution to their fiat money debt problems. It's just that simple, and it's created a really difficult market to deal in. The problem on the gold side, on the silver side, product. Every time the price goes down, everybody buys it up, and we have product issues. The problem on the paper side of things, there's a lot more selling that needs to occur before things get better. 800-951-0592. That's our toll-free number. AllAmericanGold.com is the website. And it's already, listen, May got off of a tough start. I got a call early this morning from Jason. Jason, we had some issues at the radio station, and thankfully for us, all of our fail-safe worked properly, but we were off the air for a little while this morning.
Yeah, I don't know when we went off the air, but somewhere maybe overnight. And then Kevin LaRusso, the Common Nonsense show, he came in to do his show in the morning, and everything was off. So at 6:30 in the morning, I got the emergency phone call, and I've been on emergency mode for about 2.5 hours until we got on the air. Because of course, on top of that, there was other phone calls, Joe, that I was dealing with it leading right up to showtime. So I feel like I've worked a whole day of work already.
Right. It feels that way. By the way, Kevin LaRusso, I'm telling you right now, his show is getting better and better and better. If you haven't been tuning into that, check him out. He's doing a great job running the morning show. He's on the 2 hours before Jason and I, kind of during that morning drive time. And he's doing a lot of great things. He's bringing a lot of great things to light out there. He's made a great addition to what's happening, and I don't even know where to start. There are so many things happening. Friday, we had another one of these Fridays. This is the second Friday in a row where we had big time selling on Wall Street. And again, this is one of these leading indicators of things getting rocky when you start having almost every day or every other day huge moves. 900,000 points down, 400, 500 points up, 700 points down. And then there's one day where it's kind of flat, then it's down another 800 points, then it's up 500, then it's down 1,000. But everything appears to be all the important and this is all technical mumbo jumbo, because I'll tell you right now, all of it's overvalued, period. But important breakdowns happened in the Dow, the S&P, and the NASDAQ from a quote unquote technical perspective. Jason, I think we're getting ready to see the next leg down here on Wall Street. I expect 10 to 20% probably over the next 5 to 6 weeks. And then if the Fed does what we think, so we think we're going to get a 50 basis point rate hike on Wednesday. I think that's done. That's guaranteed. I think that we're going to get ready for another 50 points in 6 weeks. Listen, they should be 5-point moves, but even just think about this, the Fed funds rate, if they raise 50 points on Wednesday, which by all accounts that's what they're going to do, the Fed funds rate still, Jason, isn't even at 1%. So this is hardly inflationary fighting, but this is how bad things are. The dollar is at a 20-year high because everybody else, you look at China's shut down. Japan, they're done, right? Japan's currency's all but done. And then Europe, hey, we've got war on our doorstep, so I guess, back to we've got the cleanest shirt in the dirty laundry pile, Jason.
Yeah, with that big Friday drop in the markets, I think they were in America. I think they were getting ready to that's the buy the dip. I think was the way the market, because just a few minutes ago the Dow and the S&P were up coming into the show, and I think with all the turbulence in the European market show, I think the factor is happening because now the Dow and the S&P is down, and who knows. Sure smells like something bad's going to happen today, too. I think the markets go down pretty hard.
It could be another heavy down day. We'll see. We haven't seen, the response, right? We get some dead cat bounces, if you will. And again, right now, everybody's selling everything. A lot of uncertainty. I think the one thing that we really all can agree on, this thing, as soon as it breaks, how fast does the Fed go the other way? Patriot Radio News Hour. We'll be back right after the break. 800-951-0592, Patriot Radio News Hour. We did get some ISM data out. That's your manufacturing data as well as your service side data. That's your the plumber and the AC repair guys, the carpet cleaners, all of those things. It was ugly. The biggest issue that in there, two things. Employment, the weakest, going back to August. So this is the thing. I think this is going to be the breaking point. As all of you know, I know a lot of small business, a lot. Part of it, the nature of the gold business. A lot of small business owners buy gold and silver as a way of savings. And so I know a lot. And last week I told you the bars and the restaurants took a big step back at the second half of April. I have a ton of guys that I know that are in the car business, the used car sales. Matter of fact, I was talking to one of them this weekend, and he wanted to know two things. How low is silver going to go? And when is business going to pick up? And what he said on his business side, he goes, here's the only calls we're getting. How much is my payment going to be? In other words, they'll have some vehicles advertised. They're not haggling about the price. How much is my payment going to be? And then, it depends. What does your bank say, right? What's your credit score? All of these factors, but very, very slowing markets. And in that ISM survey, Jason, it did reflect that employers now have the hiring has slowed dramatically, and now we actually have companies talking layoffs. Yeah,
that's what we've been speculating and prognosticating, Joe. That this market slowing down. You got the Fed and the rock and the hard place, right? Raise rates and dump your balance sheet and try to attack the inflation, or just let the inflation go because the markets are we can't crash Wall Street, right? We can't do that. Then everything will go bad, and here we are. Everything's going to go bad if they do nothing, right? They can't go in any direction, Joe. They can't stay still. They can't go forward, and they can't go backwards. So at some point, the market will just go away.
And it's a horrible spot because not only was employment slowing, but here's what they said about inflation: both the input cost and the selling price inflation surged even higher again. So again, this is, they keep trying to wait for the peak inflationary cycle, and unfortunately for that to happen, the whole thing's got to start falling apart. Now, In other news, this happened late Friday. Alliance Group, and again, this is somebody most people who. This is the largest insurer, and they do insurance, in a lot of the big projects, oil and gas and things of this nature. So what they do is they issue insurance for companies. So, people get hurt on the job, or something goes wrong and somebody dies. That's what they do. They said on Friday that they will no longer issue any insurance or invest in any new oil and gas field projects starting in 2023. They said that they won't offer any new single site or standalone property insurance and or casualty insurance, and won't renew existing contracts after July the 1st of 2023, and they're going to halt all new funding for exploration and development of new oil and natural gas fields. And this is the largest player in the market, Jason.
Yeah, and everything is down today, but oil's not down that much. So might see the oil go the other direction with this kind of news going out, Joe.
Well, and again, oil's down $3. The Dow is at the lows of the day right now, and it's still early. 32.8. Gold, it's off the lows, but down significantly. You're down $50 here at 18.60. Silver, well off. Silver got to $22 this morning. Right now at $22.50. Going back, I was telling you about the car guy Ed. I was talking to. He's a big silver buyer. And he asked me what's going on. And, of course, and he's frustrated. He goes, why is silver shouldn't be down? Silver should be, $30, $40, $50. And everyone knows, hey, it's going to happen. And I said, hey, I can't argue any of those points. But if you're looking at silver from a chart perspective, I think the lowest it can go is $21. I don't know if we'll get there. It could be today. But silver's probably the most frustrating market in the world because of the lack of availability, and then the premiums are absolutely through the roof, Jason.
Yeah, that's right. And when we go through this downward trend in the markets, which could, I've been calling it a market crash for the last year. It's just been moving sideways with inflation. But if we start seeing the markets going down, this could be a massive market crash. And what happens, Joe, is it doesn't matter what you own. There's guys that own a little bit of everything, right? And when things start to go down, the panic selling starts, and gold and silver will go down with everything else. But for all the people that have been buying gold and silver, though, gold and silver will be the first ones that'll stop going down. And then when people have all this cash, well, geez, there's still inflation, so the cash is no good. What do I put into? What is safe out there? And that's when it ends up all going into gold and silver, Joe. And when I'll tell you right now, other times where there's markets going down steeply, that's when gold and silver tends to really spike high and move really fast. So don't be too fast into thinking that gold and silver is going to keep on going down, Joe, because it'll go down if everything else is being sold off, but then it'll bounce.
Yeah, it's the. If you want to use the dollar analogy, right, that the dollar's the best dirty shirt out there, gold's the best clean shirt out there. There's without a doubt. And again, I'm going to tell you right now, this market is going to look very different by October. Whatever you're going to do it before then. Over the weekend, I saw where people are now warning about the food shortages and the huge food price increases that are going to be coming in 6 months. And I'm like, okay, let's see, May, June, July, August, September. Oh, just so happens to be October, and a lot of these things are starting to fall into place. I kind of liken it to, is October when, quote unquote, the Fed breaks it. And then, of course, at the same time, this is going to be when the food shortages are hitting. And they were talking about the lack of fertilizer being used, that this is going to be 2022 could be the worst year for food production in recent memories. Obviously compared to the population, the yields may be the worst going back 20, 30, 40, even 50 years, Jason. And this has a lot of people worried about, again, like I said, what is the Fed going to do with roaring inflation and us in the middle of let's call it the start of the recession, which I think is going to lead us into depression. And I think they're going to go Japan, which is up reverse course and try to save things, and I don't think it's going to work.
Yeah, a recession is 2 down quarters for GDP. Is depression considered a certain amount of quarters? I always forget how they classify depression when it comes to the markets. Is that more quarters going down, like 4 quarters? How does that work?
Yeah, so when great point. Obviously, when we're talking about recession, to Jason's point, that's 2 quarters of negative growth. So you look at where we were in the first quarter. We had a negative 1.4% GDP. If we got another negative number in the second quarter, that would determine to Jason's point, that is a recession. 2 straight quarters of negative growth to actually become a depression. The long-term downturn in activity is more mattered by not necessarily the length of, hey, is it 4 quarters of economic growth of negative GDP? It's actually when they talk about GDP, the decline in what they call real GDP of 10% or more. That classifies you as a depression. So go back to the financial crisis. They called it the Great Recession. We had multiple quarters of negative GDP growth, but we never got to that negative 10% number early on. And they were talking about, it was negative 2% or negative 3%. And then like 4 years later, they came out and said, okay, it was closer to 8% negative growth. And then the other factor, so I guess there's 2 factors. If we get to negative 10% GDP growth, that makes the definition for a depression. The second, if you will, category is if we remain in negative growth for 2 straight years or longer. So either one of those 2 things, then it gets termed a depression, Jason.
Got it. Now I wanted to make that clear because, it's do we have enough manufacturing and businesses in this country to have that much negative growth? I mean, I know we have some big companies that make a lot of money, but I mean, can we have a depression, Joe? I mean, is China kind of like the only country that can have a depression because they actually produce things?
Well, you know what? I really think we could here have one only because of the outrageous growth we had primarily last year with all of the monthly printing that we did. I mean, I want to say fourth quarter GDP last year was like 7%. So is it possible, say, that by, let's just say the fourth quarter of this year, could we meet that 10% criteria? It's possible just because of the huge money printing. But to your point, Jason, outside of that, it'd be very hard to do here outside of that because we don't manufacture.
I would say then it's likely it could happen by the end of the year because if you have 7% of what I would call fake growth, you could easily lose the 7%, and then another 3%, I guess, would put us in depression then.
Yeah, and I think that's what we're going to see. I hate to say it. I want to be wrong on this. It's coming. There's no doubt in my mind it's coming. There's no way, and again, when you hear the Treasury Secretary use the words, we got to get lucky. Okay, luck has nothing to do with this. They decided to go down the the path of least resistance and said, you know what, we're just going to keep printing money to pretend everything's okay. I mean, let's face it, at one point, Wall Street got the Dow got to 36,000. I mean, when you look at April, the S&P's off to the worst start going back to World War II. This is how bad it is. It was down 5% in the month. The NASDAQ was down 8%. The Dow, I guess, was the best performing, but it's already, at down 4,000 points, over 10% for the year. And Jason, again, I don't think people really understand how low these markets can really go. I mean, you look at the NASDAQ barely above 12,000 right now. And again, it's going to go back below 10,000 and potentially, I mean, could we see a NASDAQ at 4,000, 5,000? It's very possible.
I think you're right, Joe. I think you're right. We'll talk a little more on the other side of the halftime break. Stay with us. Patriot Trade News Hour will return.
Hey, we're back. Patriot Radio News Hour, 800-951-0592. Gold's down 48. I know Pico has it down less, but the price is what's important. 1863 now. Silver down about 45 cents now, 22.55. So silver well off of its lows. Gold's about $10 off of its lows. The Dow is right near its lows right now, down over 100 points. It's been close to down 200 points after trying to rally early this morning. We'll see. I don't like what I'm seeing inside of the markets. The internals of Wall Street right now are really, really ugly. We've been watching the advanced decline lines. An example, right this second, there's 25 stocks that have hit a new 52-week high and 900 stocks that have hit a 52-week low. And if this is any indication, because it's still early in the day, for about the last 4 or 5 trading days, the new low 52-week lows have been anywhere between 1,000 to 1,500 a day. The new 52-week highs, the best number I saw was 53 in the last 5 trading sessions, Jason. So there's a lot of, we look at the outside carnage and it looks bad. April, to put it into context, there's only been 4 months worse than the April we just had, going back, Jason, all the way to 1973.
Are you talking just the month of April specifically, Joe?
Just the month of April specifically.
Yeah. Usually April, that's tax month, right? People getting tax returns. Sometimes it's a pretty good month for the markets because people are buying stuff, but I guess not this year, right, Joe?
Yeah, and the NASDAQ took a lot of bleeding. How about this one? Diesel. We haven't done enough, a good enough job talking about diesel prices have hit a new all-time record high. $5.30 a gallon is the average price of diesel. That was up almost 4% in the week. It's really bad on the East Coast. Supplies of diesel and jet fuel on the East Coast are at all-time record lows. Think about this. The price of diesel now is double what it was a year ago. And the gas people are saying, by the way, get ready. Gasoline prices are going to follow. Even with, and really think about this, be thankful China's shut down right now. Be thankful 400 million people aren't going to work in China right now. Otherwise, we'd probably be talking about gas and diesel prices hitting all-time highs. But as I was reading these reports over the weekend, they were talking about refiners and how they're running at near capacity, and that they've got to get maintenance done. They've got to come offline at least for a little while to get these things. And they're saying that no matter what happens, they expect gasoline prices to rise because of the refining issue. You throw China reopening on top of it, and again, it's just this horrible setup for the Federal Reserve, this terrible storm of not only do they not want to fight inflation and being forced to fight it, but having to raise these rates. The economy's already showing weakness and signs of slowing, and the problem is over the next 90 to 180 days, it looks like the inflation pressures are going to stay extremely high at a time when I know what, Jason, they're going to want to stop raising rates.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, what are we, about a week or 2 weeks for the next inflation numbers to come out? Do you think that's going to stay at their fake number of 8.5, or do you think that goes up or down? Do you think they actually crested this thing, or where do you think the next number will be?
I think the next number is going to be fairly close to what the current number, that 8.5% is. The problem with it is you did have gasoline prices. They fell out 20 cents. Not here in Arizona, but I think throughout the country, you had some easing of gas prices, but it's not because of anything they did. They're going to try to say, the peak is in. It's not in, and I think this is going to be one of those lies that they like to tell each other, maybe to try to get Wall Street to rally a little bit, but I think no matter what, by the time we get that number, Wall Street will get another one of these dead cat bounce rallies and think about this. Them saying somewhere around 8.5% inflation. At least it wasn't 10. I mean, is that going to be their argument?
Well, I guess my next question is if markets start crashing, let's say the Dow, which is flirting with 33,000, let's say the Dow is down to, 25,000, starts to really drop, in the S&P and the NASDAQ do the same. Will that affect the inflation numbers going down because of selling off? Would that actually change that number without having to raise the rates extremely high?
Well, you know what it's going to do. When people see markets like this, they get nervous, right? And it's human nature, right? I'm going to wait. I'm going to sit on my hands. I'm going to go to the sidelines. And so all of a sudden, people that, as an example, people that could afford a new home, hey, you know what? I'm going to hold off right now. You know what? My portfolio just took a big hit. If you didn't have Joey as your guy, and you held on to Amazon during earnings and you just lost 20%, right? That doesn't feel very good, right? So I think what you're going to see is people that could afford homes, people that could afford cars, they start holding off. All of a sudden, maybe that vacation, hey, we're going to go spend, a week in Hawaii, or we're going to go on a 10-day cruise, or maybe we're going to go to Europe, or what have you. All of a sudden, they get scaled back. Yeah, we're gonna go on, but you know what? We're gonna do a long weekend, right? I'm gonna take Friday and Monday off, and we're just gonna go rent a hotel in San Diego and call it good, right? We're not gonna go on the big fancy vacation, and then obviously for the other people, the same thing, but maybe on a smaller scale, right? Their 401ks, they're in their 60s right now, and they've had a good little run. They felt real good about it. Now these people are nervous. Hey, you know what? My portfolio, I've lost 10% of my money or 20% of my money, and I'm listening to Joe. I may lose 20% more. I'm going to scale things back. I think that's what's going to really cause the slowdown here. Patriot Radio News Hour. We'll be back after the break. 800-951-0592. Patriot Radio News Hour. Goes down 40 now, 1870. Down 41, 1870. Silver now only down 34 cents, 2270. Both now well off the lows. The Dow is still in negative territory. You're down about 150 points. The S&P is down 13. And the NASDAQ is dead flat right now. We got people listening all over. One of our great customers just checking in. He's in Shreveport, Louisiana. And, you talk about cheap gas, Louisiana, because the refiners are right there. They get some of the cheapest gas in the country. But he's telling me that they're out of gas, that right now most of the gas stations in Shreveport only have premium. They don't have the lower grades of gasoline. One of the things he was saying in there is he thinks that Europe's paid so much more that a lot of our refiners are shipping, any quote-unquote extra stuff out of the country because they can get more money from it heading overseas. But this is a big problem. I know the East Coast is worse than the West Coast as far as supplies go, but I'm not shocked. We are in the shortages that we're going to see because of all of these things happening out there. I don't think I'm obviously not doing a good enough job explaining it to everybody, but we'll watch it unfold together and update me. Let me know where, things like that are happening where you're at. Send us an email, double J at allamericangold.com, or just go out to All American Gold, click the contact button, send me an email. You can go to the radio station, you go to 1360's website, send an email there. We'll get it, and we'll share it with everybody out there. But just so you know, there is no special today. There is no special today. The wholesalers are essentially ignoring these price drops. We'll see what happens tomorrow. I do have this. I will say this. Silver buyers, be ready to buy tomorrow. Matter of fact, if you're smart, I'm not going to give you a price. I'm not going to give you anything, but we're going to have $half and really nice $half coming up on sale here. Be ready for it tomorrow. If you want to call later this afternoon, we may be able to give you a price. I just made a deal over the weekend for multiple bags of silver. So be ready for that. We're just not ready today. We're a little short-staffed. Arlene is off this week. Her son, one of her sons got married over the weekend. It was a beautiful ceremony. She has a lot of family in town, so it's just Connie, Brittany, and I. We got to sort through it. We got to count it. We got to roll it. We got a lot of work to do. But be ready tomorrow. But as far as the gold price goes, the wholesalers, at one point, gold was down $60. The price was off $10. That was the move. And now all of a sudden we got gold coming back here. Maybe they knew something I didn't. I don't know. But there is no special today. Tomorrow, Jason, we will have some silver available, assuming, unless all of you call this afternoon and buy it all, hopefully we'll have some silver for tomorrow.
Yeah, and depending on how far you get with it, Faking the Truth, Brian and myself, we may be able to run some silver at 3 o'clock today, Colorado time. We'll see.
I would think, hopefully for your show we'll be ready to do something. But you made a point, I got to say this. You said oil may go the other way, and at the point when you said it, it was down $3. Oil's down 75 cents, back to $104. And again, this situation is not going to, the gas diesel problem is not going away. Recession won't do it. It needs to be depression, Jason.
Yeah, no matter how the emergencies are set up and how, who perpetuates it, there is things going on. There's this war that looks like it's just going to do nothing but get worse. Hey, it was our Pentagon that told Congress on March 1st before the State of the Union, hey, this is 10 to 20 years. So we're not even a year in. So what does that mean, Joe? How's this going to look better? It's just going to get worse, and that means all this stuff is just going to get worse. The shortages on shelves, why do I feel like at the end of this year, middle of this year, end of this year, and next year, why do I have a feeling they're going to really scare us with a lot of empty shelves, Joe?
And I think the issue in Shreveport will spread where, hey, we only got the high-grade gasoline, right? Because that'll go last, right? It'll be the unleaded gas first, and the next one, then the highest grade, and so on and so forth. And I want people to understand this. It's not like diesel and unleaded gas, it's not like the demand is like, oh my gosh, we got 5% more demand this year or 10% more demand. Now, I can understand that. We don't. The best we could say is, well, the average demand, right? So this indicates a couple things. Number one, it tells you the economy's not booming like they wanted us to believe. And then number two, it says, wait a minute, we've got record high diesel price and pretty close to record high gasoline prices, and you're saying that demand is at best average, and it's actually a little below average demand. This is a big problem. This is why I'm really thinking it's going to get very, very, very ugly, especially when we see the overvaluation, the bubble start bursting, and I have zero confidence that the Federal Reserve is going to be able to engineer any sort of soft landing at all.
Yeah, I agree, Joe. I mean, yeah, and you know what? Gold's starting to push back up too. It seems like a little bit of selling off in the markets maybe transforms into a little bit of gold and silver buying. I wonder if tomorrow's going to bounce back pretty hard, Joe.
Yeah, we'll wait and see. You know what? It's something where it should, right? Obviously, logically, gold is way oversold. Silver's way oversold, especially when you think, hey, demand's up 34%. That would make a lot of sense. But you know what? I have no faith in the paper markets to begin with. Patriot Radio News Hour. We'll be back. Final segment today. Again, we don't have a special this morning. The wholesalers, it's kind of what we've been seeing anyway here, kind of ignoring all the down moves. Later this afternoon, call us for silver specials. We'll try to have something ready for Jason's show this afternoon, and we'll have some silver hopefully left over for tomorrow. The 10-year note hit 3%. Right now, it's at 2.99. It got to 2.997, so let's call it 3% on a 10-year note. And again, even if they're gonna say inflation's 8.5, and that's not me saying that's what they, and of course we know it's much higher than that. That means that 10-year note's got to yield 10, right? So this is how much work still has to be done for all those people out there that somehow think the Fed can fix it. It's not possible, and no amount of luck is going to make that happen. Crude oil, 104.50 now, down 20 cents. Gold's off. I'm going to tell you $38. I think Kitco's got it down 23. Either way, 18.73. Silver now down just under 30 cents now, 22.75. And the Dow is down a little over 100 points, Jason.
Hey, yeah, that's no exactly right. I'm here. Exactly, Joe. So we'll just see what happens the rest of today and then tomorrow, Joe. And so a lot of these markets are dropping in the afternoons lately, especially those Fridays. I mean, look at what happened. Big drops. And again, this is a lot of this is computer driven. So technically speaking, when you see, especially the last week that we've seen, you would like to see some sort of a bounce. But again, if you go to last week, when we did get that bounce, what happened the very next day? The worst day yet happens. And that's kind of what's been happening. And it's really a shame because these companies are taking your 401k money, throwing it back in there, and then having to get clobbered in a situation where I think it's very clear, no matter what happens, the paper markets, which if you want to believe all these people, they were telling you for years, oh yeah, I know these multiples are way too high, but it's because rates are zero. So we can be. Remember, the 10-year note at one point was yielding 0.5%. So now we're saying, it's up to 3%. And let's face it, they're talking about 50 basis points. I just saw a headline saying the Fed's going to have to go 75 basis points after this one. There's, at 4% and 5% and 6%.
you're going to see a major crumbling of wealth. And again, remember what they need to do. They got to get rid of the wealth that they created. What's the best way to get rid of the wealth, Jason? Hit everybody's IRAs and 401ks, right?
That is right, Joe. That is right. So we're going to watch. I mean, the half point. I just want to see when actually the half point gets added on this week and see where the markets. We could see a really tough week because this doesn't look good, Joe.
It depends on the question, right? If Jay Powell comes out, they do the half point, and he starts really talking tough, which I think they would love to get away with. Let's talk really tough. Crash the markets harder, slow the economy down enough that we don't have to raise rates as high as everybody thinks. But you're right. It could set itself up for a really ugly week, without a doubt.